What's going on, kids? It is a Wednesday show. It is a Wednesday show. We are off tomorrow. Hockey season is coming to a close, but I have to be there for the broadcast administration for the next few home games that are during the week. There's not many. Season's almost over. Bears season's over. Got to look towards the Mets. Just signed Bo Bichette. That's a big deal. College football season is over. A lot of seasons are ending. And by the way, I don't know if any of you guys are big college football fans. I don't know how many there are left, but the national championship was Monday, right? It was Monday. Trump went there and had this speech in front of the Miami crowd. Now, I wouldn't normally mention it because Trump gets booed a lot of places, but he got booed at the Miami game. I don't know. He said something into the mic. He tried to say something. He had something he was trying to say, and the boos were drowning out something he was trying to say into a microphone. And I found this interesting because Miami University and that stadium, a spectacle like that, the national championship game. Who goes to that? Well, students and young people, right? And Miami is heavily Cuban, huge Cuban fan base, right? And affluence is there as well because it's not easy to get a ticket if you're not a student. So it's a mixture of affluence, the Cuban community, right? A red area voting-wise, at least last few cycles. And he got it was stadium-shaking boos against Mr. Trump. And I just found that really, really interesting. I hope it's indicative of how Miami's going to go going forward. He really got booed hard. It was pretty cool. You should check it out. And Mr. Trump, he of course had a celebration at the White House to tout all of his accomplishments over the first year. I think we more accurately documented with the correct tone his accomplishments of the first year last show. But he went to the White House and he sat in front of the press and he gave his hour and a half. It was excruciating. It was the regular lies, the regular propaganda, the spin, showed some pictures of undocumented immigrants that they rounded up. And he was super low energy. It was really, really cringe, really embarrassing. Basically masturbated in front of the nation for an hour and a half. It was really bad. It was really embarrassing. And now he's in Davos. He's in Davos in front of the world. And he's talking to them as well, cringeworthy stuff about Canada and its government and its leaders. And there was the interesting part, which is he said, quote, "We won't use violence to take Greenland." So that's a bit of a change. As Scotty said, what did he get? That remains to be seen. What did he get? What indeed did he get? But the fact remains he didn't have to take Greenland to get whatever he wanted. If he wanted to drill there, although not very cost effective, experts say it's cheaper to drill on the moon than it is Greenland. Okay, you want to drill there? Nobody's stopping you. They're not stopping you. You want to place military bases and vehicles and troops wherever, all over Greenland to secure the Arctic area? You can do that. You can do that now. Okay, the Denmark Defense of Greenland Act allows the U.S. to do whatever they want. So force was never necessary. It's funny because Marco Rubio told people in confidence that it was all just a pressure campaign to get Denmark to sell us Greenland, which they can't do anyway. But he has backed off the violence talk. Oh, I couldn't hear that.
So also, another thing, because I know you were prepping for the show, so you didn't get to see any of his hugely, bigly, strongly speech quickly to the world leaders. Multiple times, he confused Greenland with Iceland. Like, he's out there literally saying, like, he's talking about Iceland, but meaning Greenland. And he's conflating, and yeah, that's in front of all the world leaders, though. So it's like,
Did somebody forget to pack his Adderall? Look.
He said, "In Iceland, they love me."
Look. If he needs the Adderall to perform, I'm not a big fan of our president being a drug addict, but give it to him when he's in front of the world leaders and the world stage, so we can at least try to present us coherently.
Now I'm saying this half jokingly, but like kind of seriously, like, what if now he has to turn to Iceland and be like, I said it?
Oh, God. Just to back it up?
Like, he's going to hear all the criticism from the media being like, he effed up. He kept saying Iceland instead of Greenland. He's like, nope, I meant Iceland as well. Iceland and Greenland, they're both mine now. Both lands. They're going to be Trump land. It's going to be wonderful.
There's evidence of what you're talking about, too, because routinely, if a speech goes too long of his, he'll mispronounce something, right? And then he'll double and triple down on the mispronunciation just to say to the world, I meant to say it like that. Scotty, there's evidence to what you're saying. God help us. God help us. Okay. Let's catch up with Minneapolis. We're not going to spend all show on this. Look, we've justifiably been spending time on this, but we're not going to spend all show on Minneapolis today, but I do want to catch you up. They are recruiting prosecutors from other nearby states now because so many people have quit from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Minneapolis. They have quit. They can't mount cases. They can't perform their duties. They're leaving in droves. And part of this is because of the investigations into Tim Walz, Jacob Frey, and a bunch more. I mean, they're hitting everybody with impeding immigration officers. They're subpoenaing people. They're sending people subpoenas. They're starting investigations on all state and local officials. Well, the local officials, we'll see. They had some things to say. But state officials are all getting hit with subpoenas. All records leading to anything. All records, all documents, conversations leading to anything that might suggest that these state officials are impeding ICE operations. That's what they're looking for. Keith Ellison, the AG, Minnesota AG, St. Paul Mayor Coley, some prosecutors in Hennepin County and Ramsey. In Hennepin County, they're subpoenaing Mary McCarthy. It's crazy. A flurry of subpoenas, and the investigations have begun. Not into Agent Jonathan Ross. And did he possibly murder, and in doing so violate the civil rights of Renée Good? No. That's not the important thing to investigate here. Somali healthcare, Tim Walz, Jacob Frey, Ellison, that's what we have to investigate. And don't forget Rebecca Good, Renee's wife. We have to investigate her too. Not Agent Ross. These people. All records, communications relating to compliance or lack of compliance with immigration detainers in the state of Minnesota. Frey said simply, when the federal government weaponizes its power to try to intimidate local leaders for doing their jobs, every American should be concerned. Okay, so 10 more federal prosecutors in the U.S. Attorney's Office have quit. 10 more. The office now is about half staffed. It used to staff around 70 prosecutors. There's around 35 now. Now, why are they down so much when only 10 have quit in the face of the investigations into their state officials, while lack of investigation into Ross? 10 have just recently quit. Why are they down so much? Well, they're down so much because some quit as soon as the Biden administration ended. They saw the writing on the wall. We're out. Some decided to give Trump a chance and the DOJ a chance. And then shortly, and I mean right after Trump took office, a bunch more quit. They're like, nope, we're not doing it. We're seeing where you're going after people. We're seeing what you're doing with Lindsey Halligan. Guys like Eric Siebert are quitting. Tons of people in Virginia, New York, they're quitting. D.C., they're quitting. They all quit in the face of this Trump DOJ. That's why they're down so much in Minnesota. That's why. Not just this. Not just now. These professionals with integrity saw the writing on the wall and they got out while the getting was good. Virginia, D.C., New York, they all have similar departures. A lot of the ones in D.C. are over the Civil Rights Criminal Division in the DOJ not investigating Agent Ross, not investigating whether Agent Ross violated Renée Good's civil rights in the color of law. While performing law enforcement duties, did he violate her civil rights? That is the Civil Rights Division's job. They do it every time a law enforcement official or an agent kills somebody in the line of duty. They do their job every time. Not this time. Harmeet K. Dillon, Our head of the Civil Rights Division said not this time. So a bunch of people in D.C. have quit as well. Oh, and by the way, you know who else they're opening an investigation on? Don Lemon. Because Don Lemon had the gall to go to a ICE protest in a Minneapolis church. So they're investigating him. Quote, this is from the Justice Department's New Look Civil Rights Division. They won't investigate Ross, but they'll investigate Don Lemon. They said, quote, a house of worship is not a public forum for your protest. It's a space protected from exactly such acts by federal criminal and civil laws. Blah, blah, blah. That was out of one Harmeet K. Dillon. So she'll speak right up and investigate Don Lemon, but won't investigate Agent Ross. So Minnesota now has a dearth of prosecutors, and they have to get prosecutors from South Dakota, North Dakota, Eastern Michigan, Nebraska, Eastern Wisconsin. I found this interesting. Eastern Wisconsin and Western Wisconsin. What's wrong with the prosecutors in Northern Wisconsin and Southern Wisconsin? What's going on in North and South Wisconsin? Are they not radicalized enough to go do the job? What's going on there? Why just East and West? I found that dichotomy interesting. I found that interesting. So, they're going to get the best and the brightest from other states because their prosecutors are walking out the door. After a handful of prosecutors walked out right when Biden's administration ended, and another handful walked out when they saw the writing on the wall with this new Trump administration and how Pam Bondi's running this DOJ. If you aren't a Halligan, don't bother.
It's time for a quick break, then we break some more. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. Brett Breaks Things, fighting for America one mic drop at a time.
All right. Okay. All right. So, subpoenas were issued. Tim Walz, Jacob Frey, Mayor Coley of St. Paul, Keith Ellison, Mary Moriarty, all the state officials. The subpoenas did not cite a specific criminal statute. Okay? The subpoenas. But the inquiry as a whole, the investigation as a whole, is centered around whether elected officials in Minnesota, had conspired to impede the thousands of federal agents that have descended upon Minneapolis. Did they impede them? Did they impede their work? Did they actively impede their work? I feel like impede is a little subjective. I feel like it's open to interpretation. I feel like some of these people might be in a little bit of trouble. And if they wanted to subpoena people and they wanted to start collecting data on possible impediments of their efforts, they might start with Walz saying, I'm going to have our Minnesota National Guard on standby in case they have to protect the people of Minnesota. I feel like Walz activating the Minnesota National Guard could be seen as an impediment to Trump's agenda and ICE's operations big time. I don't want to see what that looks like. I'm interested, but I don't want to see it. I feel like this whole thing could take a very profound left turn if something like that should happen. And I believe our talking points will start to shift as well into something a little more exclamatory. Because what does that even look like? A Tim Walz activated National Guard stopping ICE from violating the rights of protesters and demonstrators in Minneapolis. What does that look like? That might be where they start, is Walz's own activation. And they are on standby, ready to deploy, I believe. Yeah. And we talked about, so So is that more? Oh, that's Bragg. Okay, so Scott's showing me the Pentagon has ordered more active duty soldiers at Fort Bragg to be prepared for possible deployment. I think yesterday we did the story of the 11th Air Division being ready in two battalions to deploy. So this is more active duty soldiers preparing for possible deployment to Minnesota under Trump's orders, under the Pentagon's orders. That's breaking right now. Right now. As we are talking about, what does it look like if the National Guard is deployed to the area? Maybe this is the answer preemptively. Trump deploys ICE. Walz says, I see your ICE and raise you a National Guard. Trump says, I see your National Guard and I raise you active duty. What are we discussing here? What exactly are we playing out in real time? Oh my God. Oh my God. Todd Blanche has recently accused Frey and Walz of encouraging violence against law enforcement and referred to their actions as terrorism. As the Pentagon prepares more active duty troops, what the hell are we watching the beginning of? I mean, I'm stopping short from what I'm implying, right? Okay, let's keep doing this. What if other Democratic governors activate their National Guard to assist the Minnesota National Guard? Oh my God, what am I talking about here? What if red states like Texas and Abbott, who has already said, hey, I have no problem with my National Guard going to Chicago to assist in Operation Midway Blitz? What if he says, I have no problem sending my National Guard to Minnesota to offset Tim Walz's National Guard? What the hell are we long gaming here? I'm being ridiculous. I hear you. I'm being ridiculous. Let's take it down a notch. For now. We'll take it down a notch as the Trump administration and our Department of War takes it up a notch. I'll take it down a notch. Let's see how this plays out. Now, the administration has repeatedly said ICE is under attack. They are under sustained assault from protesters. But you got to know, while they tell us that lie, that only a handful of protesters have been prosecuted in criminal cases since Renée Good has been killed. Just a handful. Have been prosecuted. As we're learning, a lot of people are just getting picked up, regardless of whether they're a U.S. citizen or not, roughed up and dropped off. But only a handful have been prosecuted. And speaking of people getting picked up, accused, U.S. citizens getting accosted by ICE. Speaking of this, now, we're going to hear from Mark Bruley, the police chief of Minneapolis suburb called Brooklyn Park. And we're going to hear from Hennepin County officials and St. Paul officials. We're going to hear from them right now. These are local officials we're going to hear from. And these are brave people. Because the things they're going to say are not going to be things the Trump administration and Kristi Noem and DHS and Gregory Bovino want to hear. And what happens to officials who say things the administration doesn't want to hear? They end up investigated, getting subpoenas. So what I'm going to tell you right now, and what I'm going to show you right now, I need you to understand that I feel that these are very brave people because they are fully aware of what kind of retribution could be heading their way on the tail end of comments like this. Let's hear from first Mark Bruley in his own words.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mark Bruley, Police Chief of the City of Brooklyn Park. Behind me is a bunch of amazing police chiefs that are here in support of a very short but very important message that we want to share with you. What you won't hear from any of us today is rhetoric of abolish ICE or that there shouldn't be immigration enforcement.
Smart move.
The truth is, immigration enforcement is necessary for our national security and for local security. But how it's done is extremely important. In fact, we have a long history of working exceptionally well with our federal partners, including ICE agents, and we have seen the best of them performed their job extremely well in the past. With that said, recently, as the last 2 weeks, we, as law enforcement community, have been receiving endless complaints about civil rights violations in our streets from U.S. citizens. What we're hearing is they're being stopped in traffic stops or on the street with no cause and being forced to demand paperwork to determine if they are here legally. As this went on over the past 2 weeks, we started hearing from our police officers the same complaints as they fell victim to this while off duty. Every one of these individuals is a person of color who has had this happen to them. In Brooklyn Park, one particular officer that shared her story with me was stopped as she passed ICE going down the roadway. When they boxed her in, they demanded her paperwork, of which she's a U.S. citizen and clearly would not have any paperwork. When she became concerned about the rhetoric and the way she was being treated, she pulled out her phone. In an attempt to record the incident, the phone was knocked out of her hands, preventing her from recording it. The officer had their guns drawn during this interaction. And after the officer became so concerned, they were forced to identify themselves as a Brooklyn Park police officer in hopes of slowing the incident and de-escalating the incident down. The agents then immediately left after hearing this, making no other comments, no other apologies, just got in their vehicles and left. I wish I could tell you that this was an isolated incident. In fact, many of the chiefs standing behind me have similar incidents with their off-duty officers. This isn't just important because it happened to off-duty police officers, but what it did do is we know that our officers know what the Constitution is, they know what right and wrong is, and they know when people are being targeted, and that's what they were. If it is happening to our officers, it pains me to think of how many of our community members are falling victim to this every day.
That's a great question.
It has to stop.
That's a great question, Mark. If this is happening to your off-duty police officers, how many other people is it happening to constantly? With 3,000 ICE agents descending upon this one city of 430,000 people, how many people is this happening to? How often? Papers, please. Papers, please. So, papers, please, right? If you're an immigrant, documented, and you say, I have papers, let me get to them, they don't allow you to. If you say, I have a birth certificate, and they pop their facial recognition app in your face, and the app says no or does not work, they've been instructed to trust the app or just figure it out later rather than believe your birth certificate, rather than believe your passport or any documents. So if you're brown and you actually have papers, documents proving that you're a citizen now, they are not to be believed. You're going away. You're getting detained. You're in the back of a truck. And if you are a U.S. citizen, papers, please. Why the hell would a U.S. citizen have their papers? What, their birth certificate? Every U.S. citizen now is supposed to have their birth certificate on them? ID's not good enough. We've already told you story after story after story where they refuse to believe or allow the detainee to access their ID. So now it truly is 1984. Now we truly do have to have all of our papers on us at all times. I'm brown. Now I'm brown, but if you talk to me, I don't give you some distinct foreign accent. Like I'm not clearly from somewhere else when you hear me speak. Not clearly. I could be, but not clearly, right? I'm just brown. According to the Supreme Court, that's only half of the qualifications needed to be detained. According to the Supreme Court, all they have to do is be brown and sound foreign. And that's it. That's enough. According to the Supreme Court. Okay. But Dana DeWitt, the sheriff of Hennepin County, says that the people being stopped, questioned, and harassed solely because of the color of their skin, and that the behavior of federal agents was eroding trust in law enforcement. And she's right. You've got Mark Burley here saying, my off-duty officers, just the brown ones, have been accosted by ICE agents and asked for their paperwork. Okay, so how many of those just brown officers don't have accents? I'm curious if some of those off-duty officers that Mark is describing don't have accents, if they were just simply brown. Just brown. Nothing else to lead you to believe that this person may be an undocumented immigrant. Just brown. How many of those off-duty agents, the brown ones, in Hennepin County and in Minneapolis, who have been accosted by ICE, don't have accents like me? Did it matter? Did they get guns jammed in their face anyway? So it's papers, please, for everybody then, is it? You can get mad that this is starting to make sense. The fact that you may want to carry your birth certificate. But wait till you actually get roughed up by one of these guys and dropped off in a Walmart parking lot. Will you begin to carry your birth certificate then? And if you do, now you're at the mercy of their facial recognition app.
We'll be back to break it all down. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. Breaking news, breaking rules, breaking through. Back to Brett Breaks Things.
Our ICE rock star Gregory Bovino.
This is for you as well. At a press conference today, we heard from several local police chiefs who said that they support ICE, but that certain ICE tactics are making their jobs, keeping their own communities safe, that much harder. What's your response?
I would say that those tactics are born of necessity. What we do is legal, ethical, and moral. Everything we do every day is legal, ethical, moral, well-grounded in law. So I would impugn upon those police chiefs and anyone else, elected representatives, and you have to remember, many of these police chiefs do work for the Mayor Freys of the world, that turn over those illegal aliens, those criminal illegal aliens. Let me hold these up again, so it's just so we don't forget this, because it seems like it always gets forgotten. Rape, lewd and lascivious acts against a child.
Gregory Bovino. Let's take a look again at his little outfit here. Okay, I just want you to take a look at his little outfit he's got here. Look at his outfit. Look at that black strap across the chest. I'm not going to say another word about it. I'm not a fashionista. I don't claim to be plugged into the fashion world. I don't claim to be. But that little getup there, God, it reminds me of something. It's as if it's a kind of a tip of the cap to something, a little nod and a wink to something. Just can't put my finger on it. Gregory Bovino. Very despicable man they have at the head of ICE there. He is their rock star, and he wants to talk about lawful, justifiable, everything we've been doing. He was there when they detained two Target workers, bloodying one up and dropping him off in a Walmart parking lot. He was there. He was there. And on the back end, with all the recording equipment working, everything we're doing is lawful and constitutional. Unbelievable. And by the way, I'm just gonna bookend this by telling you in a very un-Trumpian fashion, he started to change his tune on Renée Good and the killing. And I'm not sure what happened. But he did a rhetorical 180. What was he saying? What was he saying right after the killing? He was falsely claiming that Miss Good was violently, willfully, and viciously running over ICE officers, behaved horribly, highly disrespectful to law enforcement. He basically suggested that the killing was justified, and he accused her of being a domestic terrorist. What is he saying now? On Tuesday, he said the killing of Renée Good by an ICE agent in Minneapolis was a tragedy, about which he felt horribly, adding that the immigration agents he has deployed sometimes are, quote, going to make mistakes. That is much different. Much different. He said, when the woman was shot, I felt terribly about it. You felt so terribly about it, you immediately ran to the nearest camera and called her a domestic terrorist and said she had it coming. That's how terribly he felt about it. He said, I understand both sides of it. He called the shooting a horrible thing. This is all on Tuesday. They're going to make mistakes. Sometimes ICE is going to be too rough with somebody, or, they deal with rough people. They're going to make a mistake. Sometimes it can happen terribly, quickly, bigly, and strongly. Here's the thing. So reporting came out that Renée Good's dad was a Trump supporter, we'll see. We'll see going forward. Staunch Trump supporter, and he found that out, and he spoke to it. He said Renée Good's parents were tremendous Trump fans. A lot of people said, "Oh, he loves you," and he said, I hope he still feels that way." Why the rhetorical 180? He can't possibly be that vain and that simple, can he? One report or whatever piece of information about how her parents liked him, and that's the rhetorical 180 he will take? Are you serious? Crazy. Or is there even a shred of possibility that there's anyone around him that can influence what he says enough to actually change his rhetoric, and somebody who also sees the value in softening up your tone a little bit? I mean, that's not a possibility, right? Like somebody close to him that could actually affect change in what he says, also having the foresight to understand that maybe what he was saying directly after the killing doesn't really match the tone of the nation and could not really be helping things, but rather hurting things. So I have discarded that. There is nobody within Trump's orbit that has that kind of moral compass and foresight. So that is discarded. So I'm going with vain and simple. He is so vain and such a simple creature that hearing that her parents liked him was enough for him to soften his tone. Whatever. At least he stopped calling her a domestic terrorist, while the investigation into his wife is ongoing into her being a domestic terrorist. Awesome. Okay, now, some investigations by this DOJ aren't going so well. Haven't gone well, right? We know that. And a lot of the faux pas coming out of the DOJ was under Lindsay Halligan's watch, okay? And Lindsay Halligan, along with Alina Habba and Bill Asaley and John Sarcone III, they've all been deemed unconstitutionally, illegally at their post because of the way the DOJ has circumvented the 120-day interim policy at the U.S. Attorney General's office. Okay, we've done that story. All of those AGs have been deemed by a judge in each of their states that they are illegally there, including Lindsay Halligan. But Lindsay, no, she's not going to go quietly into that dark night. No. She hung around the office. Her name was put on new prosecutions and investigations, new subpoenas as the acting U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. And a judge said, stop doing that. Stop doing that, or I'm going to open an investigation against you. Stop doing that. You aren't the U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. You are not. Stop doing it. And she would not. And she would not stop doing it. I mean, she is a tenacious little bugger. So now we're officially done with her. Two federal judges issued two separate court orders saying, we intend to replace Miss Halligan. We intend to replace Miss Halligan, and if she continues to put her name on official DOJ documents, we will pursue disciplinary action, period. Two separate judges did that. Chief Judge Hannah Lauk and Judge David J. Novak. Two separate orders. What did she do just a couple hours later? Off into that good night. Bye-bye. She left. She walked away. I felt like this is kind of like if a girl who has a boyfriend goes on social media and sees what her boyfriend's doing, and she sees him shirtless in front of the mirror and with a caption that says like, a king looking for his queen, I'm single, ready to mingle, and then she finds out in that moment that she has been dumped. That's kind of how this played out. And then of course she has to go to her friends and say, I left him, I broke up with him. That's kind of what happened. Halligan, in the statement, accused the district's federal judges of a campaign to pressure her to leave the court after the ruling declared her appointment was invalid. She said the effort had diverted time and resources from public safety responsibilities. Don't worry about their time and resources, Lindsay. They've got plenty of both to deal with you. But we appreciate your sentiment about the public, because we know all of your actions and all of your quotables are all directed towards public safety. What's best for the public. How noble of you, Lindsay, to be thinking of us in these times. The truth of the matter is they saved you from getting fired. And now you attack them. Abby Lowell, the attorney for Letitia James, and he's Lisa Cook's attorney, he said her departure, her walking away, marks another failure in the Trump administration's illegal attempts to install political loyalists as prosecutors, and serves as a fitting end to her brief and troubled tenure in office. Well done, Abby. It is important to note, however. Now, I don't know how this is going to really play out. Well, first of all, let's do this. Her replacement. There is no replacement, and we don't know yet. Which is why they have to go searching. You see, there was a replacement there. The first assistant U.S. attorney, Robert K. McBride. Oh, yeah, he was fired by the DOJ just a few months ago. So he would have been the U.S. attorney, at least interim U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, but not anymore. He has been fired, so it is vacant. So they got to go looking. Now, let's see how each judge approached this. Judge Lauk didn't say anything to Lindsay in a statement. Instead, Judge Lauk directed the court's clerk to publish a U.S. attorney job posting in the local newspapers, asking if anybody is interested in the position. Quote, the position of U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia is vacant. So somebody's looking through the want ads, right? They're looking for a job like, a postman, work in a restaurant, server. The U.S. attorney at the Eastern District of Virginia is open. Maybe I'll apply for that. He posted a job wanted in the local paper. That's what I'm talking about. Going to the social media, going to the Facebook page and finding out they're looking for a queen to be to their king, or they're looking, they're ready to mingle. Judge Novak actually said something. Judge Novak actually released a statement. This is great. No matter all of her machinations, Miss Halligan has no legal basis to represent to this court that she holds the position, and any such representation going forward can only be described as a false statement made in direct defiance of valid court orders. In short, this charade of Miss Halligan, masquerading as the U.S. attorney for the Eastern District in direct defiance of binding court orders, must come to an end. Well done, Judge Novak. And that little bit that I wanted to get to you. Now, again, I don't know how this is going to play out, but her full term as U.S. attorney is pending in the Senate. Oh yeah. Now, the White House, the DOJ, they might rescind the appointment. They might rescind it, okay, the nomination, because of all of this, right? And Lindsay's not really competent. She kind of swung and missed already a few times. So they might rescind it. But they're saying, look, it's not going to happen anyway, because the two senators from Virginia, Tim Kaine and Mark Warner, they won't give her their blue slip, which is that, you know, the validation from the state senators that this is the person for the job. It is kind of obligatory and to be in the position, and they're not going to give it. So the DOJ probably will rescind her nomination, and if they don't, she's probably not going to get confirmed. But it's there.
Breaking politics, breaking narratives, breaking news. But first, we need a coffee break. Brett breaks things, fighting for America one mic drop at a time.
Pam Bondi said in a statement, we appreciate all the efforts of Lindsay Halligan. She did a great job. She really bleeped me in the bleep. I thought Todd Blanche was bad. I had no idea how bad Lindsay Halligan was. But she went on to say, but I'll be fired soon too. So Lindsay, keep a beach chair open for me in Cabo. We'll have a margarita and a pool boy. Because they're both going to be out of a job. No, she didn't say that. She did say Lindsay's part of the cult, so she's still my bestie. She did say that. No, she didn't say that either. Okay. All right. So bye-bye, Lindsay. We'll see who's next. Let's move on, because today, the arguments on Trump administration, the DOJ trying to fire Lisa Cook. They just wrapped the arguments. Thank you. They just wrapped the arguments, okay? This is, everybody sees it for what it is, including Jerome Powell. Nobody sees it more clearly than Jerome Powell, the Fed chair right now. This is about remaking the board and getting lower interest rates, period. And so they've opened an investigation into Jerome Powell. They tried to fire Lisa Cook. They are trying to open up spots on the governor board to get a Trump-friendly majority and then put the interest rates wherever the hell they want, which is against the whole philosophy behind the central bank and the Fed's independence. It's why these Fed governors are there for 14-year terms. It's about the long game. They cannot be adjusted or swayed due to one administration wanting better optics. So we're going to do something right now in the short term that makes our administration look more successful, but in the long term screws us totally economically, right? It's the whole point. It's the whole point, and Trump is completely attacking all of it. He's attacking the Fed's independence. He wants to put the interest rates wherever he wants them, and he's installing zealot loyalists to this extremely important board. He wants Powell out. He wants Cook out. Okay? Powell said it was a result of the Fed setting borrowing costs based on their best assessment of what will serve the public rather than following preferences of the president. Boom. Period. He sees it for what it is. Everybody does. And I told you already that this investigation into Powell is based on whether he defrauded the American people by lying to Congress about how much the renovations would cost, when Powell doesn't have anything to do with the scheduling or the budget or any of the logistics. All he did was say, yes, we'll go forward with renovations. He just gave his vote, which has equal amount of weight of every vote of the four Fed governors. All of them have equal weight. All he does is set the agenda. That's really all he does as chair. But yet they're investigating him. So this investigation goes on while the Supreme Court decides whether the president has cause to fire Lisa Cook, and whether his cause is enough cause, right? If he says there's cause and attempts to fire her, is that enough? Because if just saying there's cause out of the executive branch is enough to get a Fed governor gone, then he can just fire them one after another. Whoever votes the way he doesn't want, whoever doesn't get in lockstep with his long-term economic goals, they can just get fired over and over and over again. This is a seat that has a 14-year term for a reason. So they heard this case on an expedited basis. They hastened it. I expect that the ruling on this will come much sooner than the ruling on some of the other things that they have already argued. A lot of issues they argue, and then the ruling comes much later. I don't think they're going to do that here. I think they're going to rule almost immediately on this. That's what I think. You already know that they are accusing Lisa Cook of mortgage loan fraud, okay? Stemming to charges that were from 2022 before she joined the Fed, okay? And so the key questions for the Supreme Court justices are: how much discretion a president has to fire these Fed officials, what counts as cause, and what kind of notice or due process should be afforded to officials before a president can just remove them, right? Those are the main questions. The Justice Department is saying that the courts cannot second-guess a president's justifications, and they're also saying that they cannot, the Supreme Court itself cannot reinstate a fired official. That's what they're saying. Now, there are reports about where these arguments went. And, yeah, you got something for me, Scotty? Go ahead.
Well, a couple things. One, going back to Powell, which you mentioned, he was in the gallery today hearing arguments.
Interesting.
Which, interestingly enough, Scott Bessent attacked him over, saying that he was doing it for political theater and trying to sway, the SCOTUS and everything else, even though Scott Bessent himself, back in November, sat front row during the Supreme Court's hearings on Trump's tariffs.
So that's Scott Bessent, our Secretary of Treasury. Yeah. Did he say this in statements after he got out there? He attacked Powell about his presence?
Yes, I believe yesterday, because he's in Davos right now. During the whole thing. So he basically was like, went on the attack, like the good dog that he is. Let me see here. The Supreme Court, they're poised to reject Trump's bid, according to New York Times, about removal of Lisa Cook. They suggested that it was premature that the court resolves the case, that that these allegations are fact or not fact. About 2 hours of argument, and the majority of the justices seem likely to order additional proceedings, perhaps in the lower courts, meaning basically the Supreme Court's ruling may not be the final case on this, but if justices allow they're going to allow her to keep her job in the meantime.
Okay, so they decided to allow her to keep her job.
Correct.
So what Scott's telling you, and this is what is a little troublesome. See, although there was pushback, and we called pushback from Kavanaugh and a few others, and there was pushback, what Scott's telling you is that they're kicking it back to the lower courts and letting these lawsuits and investigations play out. What they're telling you, and what I think the Supreme Court is telling Trump, is that we will decide if you have cause once we find out if she actually did it. I'm afraid that it will play out thusly. The Supreme Court will kick it back to the lower courts, meaning they will allow this investigation into her mortgage loan fraud to play out. And if she is found guilty by a jury, then the Supreme Court will say, well, because she did it, and it's a financial crime, the president did have cause. And they will uphold the firing. They will strike down Gia Cobb's lower court decision to leave her in place. They will strike it down and set precedent going forward that the president can use his DOJ to find any reason to get a grand jury indictment on any of the Fed governors, and if they should hit the bullseye, right, they're giving him a target. If you should hit the bullseye being a conviction, then you get your firing. I think that's where this is going, Scott. I think that's where they're setting the bar. They're giving the administration a bullseye to hit. Get your conviction. Convict her of this fraud, and you've got your cause. It is twofold. It's kicking it back, kicking the can, not having to say no to Trump, which is the most important aspect of such a decision out of them, We don't have to rebuke our dear leader. We don't have to say no to Lil Donnie. But two, the precedent will be set. That will be your decision. You want to go after a Fed governor, and if you can go after a Fed governor, you can go after any head of any agency, period. This was supposed to be the one place you could not politically fire somebody with no cause. Everybody else, the Supreme Court said no problem. FTC is still in the balance, but everybody else, no problem. Don't give us cause. Give us cause. We don't care. Get rid of who you want to get rid of. They're all an extension of your executive power, so you have the right to fire who you want, Donnie. That's what they've said time and time again, but this was supposed to be different. So now you want to get rid of a Fed governor, come up with a charge. Go get a grand jury indictment. Go try them. And if they should be found guilty, you've got your firing. That's the precedent that will be set. That will be the pretext to their decision. Right there. And most importantly, we don't have to hurt Donnie's feelings. We don't have to hurt Donnie's feelings. We don't have to give him that rare loss out of us. We're in lockstep. We're in lockstep. So I expect that decision actually to come soon. I expect that to come soon. As far as this Powell investigation, by the way, we're going long today. We're going to wrap this segment in just a second, and we're going to go long. As far as the investigation into Jerome Powell, the Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts and Dick Durbin of Illinois, two top Democrats on the Senate committees that oversee the Fed and the Justice Department, directed two Trump officials to preserve documents and provide them to the Senate about this investigation into Jerome Powell. They want all the documents related to in any way this investigation. They want to get out in front of it. Now it's two Democratic senators, right? So of course they're going to, they're going to be the ones. They're going to be the ones to speak up. But it's important to note that this is the first congressional response to the subpoenas to Jerome Powell. There's got to be a response, and the Republicans aren't going to come out and take the initiative on something like this, not like this. So it's up to the Democrats. No matter how feckless they may be at the moment, they have to come out and say something. Okay, it's funny because they are asking for these documents and any evidence from the Justice Department, and they're asking for them also from Bill Pulte. They want to know if there was any coordination between the Justice Department, the White House, FHFA, and other agencies. Well, Bill Pulte's the head of the FHFA, and what did he have to say about this inquiry? He said that he didn't know anything about the Jerome Powell investigation. He doesn't know nothing about it, and said Tuesday that and a FHFA spokesman said that the Justice Department is outside of Pulte's purview. Okay, so maybe they want to know why the whole thing. Maybe they want to know a little bit about what you found on Lisa Cook to justify a referral to the Justice Department. I know you're trying to duck this, Bill, but you're wrapped up in the center of it, and they want to know how and why. Oh, we're coming back. We're coming back for overtime.
It's time for a quick break, then we break some more. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things, pushing back, speaking up, and holding the line.
All right. We're in overtime. Let me hit a few stories now. Let's talk about Jack Smith real quick. Former special investigator Jack Smith. Jack Smith was hired by Merrick Garland. Merrick Garland was our AG before Pam Bondi. From 2021 to 2025, Merrick Garland was our AG. In that time, Jack Smith opened up two cases. One into the overturning of elections, the investigation into who tried to overturn a lawful election from the Trump administration, who facilitated this, the special electors, all of that. That was one investigation. Another one was into the stolen documents hidden away in the bathrooms of Mar-a-Lago. Those are the two cases that Jack Smith investigated. Now, we know how they turned out, both dismissed eventually, and Jack Smith out of a job. But it's important to know that before Merrick Garland left office, he did his job. And in this case, his job was to take all of the findings, all of the reports of the investigations that Jack Smith had compiled and release it to Congress. That's part of his job as AG. That is how we have run our DOJ for years, forever. When there's a major investigation into high-profile targets, once the investigation's over, for good or for bad, you release the reports to Congress. That's what you do. And so Merrick Garland did that once again. We're talking about the Jack Smith Investigation Reports, Volume 2. Okay? Volume 2 is into the documents investigation. That is what Volume 2 concerned, the documents investigation. Did Trump steal classified documents and burrow them away in his bathroom? Volume 2. Garland set them to be released. These things take time. They took so much time that they are just now set to be released. The timing is interesting. The timing is interesting. Now, in terms of this report, they're set to be released, and they have a lot of nasty little details with proof and evidence of how Trump went about stealing these documents, then impeding federal investigations and lying about it. Lots of evidence, nasty little thing, evidence, lots of it. Lots of it. So, this report is set to be released to Congress, and Don Trump has asked a federal judge to block his own Department of Justice from releasing that volume. His own DOJ from releasing that volume. This raises questions in your mind. Why would he have to do that? Why would he have to get a judge to block the release of a report that's going to be released by his DOJ, his lackey, his foot soldier, Pam Bondi? Why would he have to ask a judge to block this? Why would he simply not just tell Pam Bondi, don't release it? Why would he not do that? He could do that. He could do that. He could do that in secret. He could do that anyway. There's a million ways he could do that. He could stop the DOJ from releasing these files. Right now he could. So why did he go to a judge? The reason he's going to a judge is in the wording of this block. It's to stop the report. I'm sorry. Listen to it closely. The wording. He wants to bar current, former, and future DOJ officials from releasing Volume 2 of Smith's final report. End quote. That is in a 19-page filing to a U.S. District Court judge. Okay. This is why he doesn't just ask Pam. Because he could stop Pam right now, but it wouldn't be federally binding. It wouldn't be legally binding. It would just be this DOJ under this attorney general who works for this president would not release it. It would not stop any future administration from ordering whoever is the AG of the new DOJ from releasing it later. But with a judge's ruling, right? If the judge upholds this, grants this, bars it, that is federally binding, not just now, but going forward. That is legally binding. So no new Democratic administration with their DOJ can just say, oh, and about all that evidence and we want to smear Trump some more. Here it all is. Can't do it. Can't do it if a U.S. District Court judge grants this. Now I know your next question. Okay, Brett, I understand why it's being released now. I understand why he's not asking Pam to just squash it right now. Who the hell's the judge? That's the best part. That's the best part. The documents case got dismissed by one Aileen Cannon, his loyal appointee in the U.S. District Court for Southern Florida. Aileen Cannon, she's the one who threw out the case. Originally, she's the one. And she is now the one who is going to decide whether we bury Donnie's little secrets forever. She's the one who's going to decide whether it will be barred forever. Volume 2, barred forever from Congress ever seeing it, or anybody else for that matter, going forward. It's her decision. Aileen Cannon, zealot, loyalist, foot soldier. This is what she was put here to do. This is his backyard. This is his judge. And she's going to do her job. She knows the assignment. There is zero chance that she does not grant this. Zero. This will 100% be barred from release. And the timing of all of this is interesting because Jack Smith tomorrow is going to testify publicly to the House Judiciary Committee and their chair, Jim Jordan. And don't forget how all this started. Jim Jordan getting his hands on this report that says, oh my God, Jack Smith wiretapped and listened in to a bunch of senators' conversations following the election trying to get it overturned. When in reality, what Jack Smith did was subpoenaed the phone tolling. No wiretapping, no listening in. A very practiced and established means of gaining investigatory evidence and information. Phone tolling is simply who called who, when, and where they called from. That is what Jack Smith got. It is obtained all the time in cases, big and small. It is a very, established procedure in investigations. And of course, the Republicans have to lie about it. He listened in on our conversations, starting this whole whirlwind. Now, Jack Smith had said in previously in a closed-door session, even though he screamed, hey, let me testify publicly. Everybody needs to hear this. Jim Jordan said, no. You come secretly with us. An 8-hour meeting where they recorded every single thing he said to set him up for this. Because now he's going to be public. And this could get interesting. One, they're going to try to use that 8-hour closed-door session against him. They're going to grill him, and they're going to try to trip him up, and they're going to try to get him to contradict himself. They're going to try to get him to say something that's in contradiction to anything he may have said in that 8-hour session and get him for lying to Congress. That's a long time, 8 hours, to talk to a bunch of Judiciary Committee members. It's a long time. He said a lot of things. He said that among the things he said is the January 6th siege on the U.S. Capitol does not happen without Trump, while also disputing any suggestion that his work was designed to prevent Trump from reclaiming his presidency. He said a lot of things. Jim Jordan himself said, he's going to be a tough little witness, but we'll get him. I'm paraphrasing. But he did say he's going to be a tough witness. The other interesting part, aside from the Republicans trying to trip him up and throw him in jail for lying to Congress, which they're going to try to do, the Dems, while the Republicans are setting him up for failure, are the Dems going to set him up to succeed? How active are they going to be in that venture? Will they actively and repeatedly set him up softballs so he can knock him out of the park with any type of details, evidentiary details of his report? Will they give him a forum, a chance to expound on some of the nasty little details that he found in his investigation? I hope they will. I feel like that will be their game plan, to give him a forum to express some of the evidence that he and his team uncovered and embarrassed Donald Trump. While they're trying to bury the report itself, will the Dems give him a chance to leak some of the information on this report in a hearing publicly? I can't wait, to be honest with you. I can't wait for that. Trump's not looking forward to it. Jim Jordan, I'm telling you, he's being too clever by half. If this doesn't go well for Trump, publicly, if Jack Smith is allowed to expound on evidentiary details in front of the whole world, Trump will get pissed. And Jim Jordan will have caused all of this. You may be a little too clever by half, Jim. We'll see. A couple more stories that I want to get to real quick while we're in overtime. One, the Justice Department submitted a court filing Friday saying that the Social Security Administration had discovered a secret agreement, get this, between a DOJ employee, possibly multiple DOJ employees, and an unidentified political advocacy group. Okay, what? Yeah, so the thing they said wouldn't happen, happened. And DOJ accessed our Social Security details. All the Social Security files, DOJ accessed them in secret. And then, even more secrecy, below that, possibly a handful of DOJ employees then took their data, the Social Security data of all Americans, and ran to a political advocacy group to try to get elections overturned in some districts. It's a lot. But here's the thing, and Scotty helped me do some real good research on this. I couldn't get how is the Social Security data of Americans going to help overturn elections? Well, they'll be able to cross-reference voter rolls with the Social Security data, and they'll try to point out non-citizens that voted or try to point out dead people that may have voted, right? But Social Security data is not meant to be used to verify voter information and security. It's not meant for that. Sometimes documentation status isn't right, citizenship status isn't right. Sometimes even, whether they're deceased or not isn't quite right in the Social Security system. There's lots of room for error in the Social Security data. Nevertheless, they ran to this election group, this election denying group that wants to overturn the elections, and offered them the data. Just offered it to them. Our Social Security data. The thing they said repeatedly earlier this year didn't happen. The thing they said repeatedly could not and would not happen. DOJ getting our Social Security info. It happened. It didn't just happen. They abused it. They didn't just abuse it. They shared it with each other. They had a third-party encryption service called Cloudflare, a brand new third-party encryption service that the DOJ employees would use to send Social Security data amongst each other. Unbelievable. So there's going to be a subcommittee investigation into this. There's going to be an investigation eventually. The DOJ said, well, we're not going to investigate it. Why would we? Seriously. DOJ said, we're not going to investigate it. We're not investigating this. To that, John Davidson, the deputy director of Electronic Privacy Information Center, which has previously sued this administration over breach concerns. This guy said a couple interesting things. He said they would not be surprised to see a civil lawsuit stemming from this admission by the Social Security Administration that they had been leaked. They had been hacked by DOJ and leaked. They said expect a flurry of civil lawsuits. He said these are very serious allegations. In other administrations, this would have prompted at least a DOJ investigation. Nah, this ain't like other investigations, David. Or John Davidson, I'm sorry. This isn't like other administrations. They don't do things like this. They don't investigate officer-related shootings, and they don't investigate a breach of our Social Security data by DOJ. They don't do things like that. They investigate Comey and Letitia James and Adam Schiff and John Bolton and Rebecca Good and Tim Walz and Jacob Frey. They don't investigate ICE agents, Jonathan Ross, and they don't investigate Elon Musk's team of super nerd geniuses, DOJ. They don't investigate that. Are you getting the picture? Laughable. You thought the DOJ was going to investigate. Davidson said it's hard to believe that agency officials, this is shots fired. He goes further. It's hard to believe that agency officials were unaware that data was being shared outside official channels, given the existing protocols within government. But he did say, well, the government was in turmoil. So maybe they missed it. But he's basically just calling them out. He's saying not only did they do this, you knew he did it. DOJ, Social Security Administration, you all knew they were doing this. How could you not? How could you not? This is a guy who has sued the administration over this very thing. I think you would know. So, no investigation into that. Just know that your Social Security data has been breached and has been shared. The DOJ said, we know for sure that these Doge employees haven't shared any of the information with this third-party advocacy group. We know. Trust us now. We were wrong earlier when we asked you to trust us that it wouldn't be breached. And we were wrong earlier when we told you that it had not been breached yet. But now, this time, trust us. They didn't actually share it. We got you. And finally, I'm just going to cram this into the back end of the show. We're just going to switch gears once again. Real quick. 50 million barrels of Venezuelan oil, Trump's spoils of war. We talked about that story. Shortly after Maduro was unseated, 50 million barrels of oil came to the U.S. from Venezuela, just like that. A gift. But really spoils of war. But wait, we're not at war. All right, that's another show. Regardless, Trump robbed Venezuela. He just took what he wanted. 50 million barrels of oil. And said, I will sell this on the open market, and said I will do it for the benefit of America and Venezuela. Okay, so the value of the 50 million barrels of oil was upwards and above $500 million. Now, Trump said he has been selling the oil on the market, but there are no shipping records or sale records of the U.S. having sold this oil to anyone. Just $500-something million magically appeared in an offshore account in Qatar. You heard me. Magically, over $500 million in an offshore account in Qatar shows up, and it is controlled by Don alone. And they gave Venezuela 300 million of those dollars. So they robbed them of 50 million barrels and gave them back half the value. The other half sits there in that Qatari account run by Don, his own personal little piggy bank. He told us he was going to do it. But just let's be clear. Venezuela says, thank you, Don. Delcy Rodriguez says, yep, we got 300 million of our own money back. And we're going to split it between our 4 banks. And now we've got dollars, right? Now we have dollars. And with these dollars, we can purchase materials and resources on the open global market. We couldn't do that with our pesos. We couldn't do that because our pesos is in the crapper. But now we've got dollars, and we can go gain resources and imports again. We can go be a global force on the trade market once again with these dollars that the U.S. government has given us of our own oil's worth. Half of it. So these 4 banks in Venezuela are going to split the money up, and they're going to stabilize the economy. They got half the value of their oil. Trump said he was going to do it, though. He told us, quote, this oil will be sold at its market price, and that money will be controlled by me as the President of the United States to ensure it is used to benefit the people of Venezuela and the United States. Okay, so he didn't actually sell it according to all sales and shipping records. He didn't sell it yet. Magically 500+ million. Okay, but he did tell us it will be controlled by me, so I'll give half of your money back, and I'll keep the other half to spend as I see fit. Because that's how America works now. Well, Thomas Massie, he said something about it. You love what Thomas Massie has to say of late, as do I, as he has picked yet another issue to push back on Trump. He is a Republican in the House, and once again, he's calling out this administration. He wrote on X, selling stolen oil and putting billions of dollars in a bank in Qatar to be spent without congressional approval is not constitutional. Only Congress can appropriate that money. I don't know where he's getting billions, but the reporting is still coming out. The president can't legally create a second treasury overseas for his own piggy bank. Wake up, Congress. Wake up, Congress. Yeah. So, Massie, calling out the president for creating his own little bank account in Qatar. The White House hit back. They spoke directly back to him. White House spokesperson Taylor Rogers said in an emailed statement to Massey, President Trump captured the narco-terrorist leader of Venezuela who poisoned the American people with deadly drugs and sent thousands of vicious illegal aliens into our country. Thomas Massey crying about that is just one more reason why the great people of Kentucky have completely lost faith in him. He didn't mention unseating Maduro in that particular post and his statements. He mentioned your little side deal, your little account in Qatar, and how you're trying to spend non-congressionally appropriated money. That's what he mentioned. So again, just a nice little spin, bullcrap propaganda from the White House, accusing him of not being happy Maduro was unseated. And he has spoken to that. Many people have spoken to that. They're happy Maduro's not there anymore. They just hated how we went about it. Was it a law enforcement action or was it an act of war? And Massey didn't mention any of that. He just mentioned your little piggy bank over in Qatar. But nice try, Taylor Rogers. We won't be back tomorrow. We will be back Friday. I will see you kids then. Thank you so much.